Hello everyone, Heinlein here and welcome back to my channel. So I have been revisiting the F-5E Tiger II recently and I thought I might as well start a new tutorial series on this aircraft. By the way, pardon my voice, I have a bit of a cold as of this moment. The F-5 was the very first aircraft I bought in DCS when I started playing, and it is a plane that I recommend for new players because it's very simple to learn and to operate. And it's also the reason why the aircraft in real life saw a great success in the export market, and it's still in service today, almost 50 years, or actually more than 50 years after it entered service. So, in this very first tutorial I will go through the startup sequence, and without wasting any more time, let's get going. The very first thing you want to do is to turn on the battery, right down here. And now we can see that the lights come on. Next up we're going to turn our booster pumps on. Those are these two, right so. Next up we need to connect ground air supply, and we do this by talking to our ground crew. And we're going to press connect. Next up we need to tell the ground crew to apply ground air, so let's press the COM menu one more time. By the way, let's show you how to do that. That is this key, communication menu. And let's go to ground air supply and press apply. Now we will see the turbine RPM increases, and once it gets over 10 we can uncage our throttle. I have also that key binded, and we're going to press this one, the ignition button. And we can see that our engine are spooling up, and it will idle between 49 and 52% RPM. And now the engine is idling, and we can see the oil pressure is coming up, and we have a good fuel flow at roughly 440 pounds per hour. Now we need to turn on our left generator, like so. And also I will show you which key I'm using to uncage my throttles. It's this one and this one. That's how I do it. You can bind them as you please yourself. To start the right engine we will do exactly the same thing one more time. Once the left engine starts, the engine will drive a hydraulic pump that will open the left auxiliary air intake, and you can also see that on the indicator here. And here we can see it from the outside that the left one is open and the right one is closed. That's just a minor detail, but what that means for you is that the right engine is ready to receive air. So let's contact the ground crew one more time and tell them to apply ground air supply once again. And we see that RPM is increasing, so let's uncage our throttle again, like so, and ignition. Let's hold it. And the engine is spooling up. And now the engine is idling. Turn on the generator, like so. So now that the engines are running, let's disengage ground air supply. And we are also going to turn on our oxygen. This is very important. If you forget this, the pilot will pass out if you fly high. And let's close our canopy, just to make it a bit more silent. And this next thing is very important, and that is to remember to retract your air brakes. The air brakes is these things underneath the aircraft right here. You have no idea how many times I've taken off and wondered why my performance is so bad, only to find out that my air brakes is out. So that is this little knob right here on the throttle. I have it key binded to my HOTAS. I'm going to show you which one I have. To out and in, like so. Next up, we're going to turn on our pitch and yaw dampers. Just believe me, you want to turn this to on. And then we're going to turn on our countermeasure system, right here. You can have them in single or in program. You can actually program them from the ground by going to the kneeboard. And here you can change the settings on your countermeasures. But truth to be told, I normally just have it in single. It works just fine. Next up, you want to set up the trim. The trim pitch you can see right here, or the trim indicator, like so. Default is that you have this one at 6 at takeoff if you're only carrying sidewinders and gun ammo. And if you're carrying drop tanks, you want to pitch it up to 7. And if you are carrying rockets and bombs, you want to have it set at 8 or 9, depending on how heavy your aircraft is. But we are pretty clean right now, so let's put it at 6. And you adjust this one by using the hat switch on your HOTAS, or this one right here, elevator trim switch, like so. The F-5 can carry an impressive amount of ordnance, so selecting the correct pitch is quite important. And next up, make sure that your flaps are set in aft, right here, or in auto. You can see it right there, auto, like so. And here we can see the settings of the flaps. Next up, check your briefing and see if you have the correct QNH on your altimeter. We see that here, 299.2, standard air pressure. Sorry. Next up, you want to set this one to electric, like so. Then this one disappears. Now your altimeter shows the altitude above sea level, and that is the mode I recommend always. However, you can set QFE in the opposite to QNH. QFE, it's the altitude above ground at the airfield level. So if I were to do this, 299.82, now I have it to QNH, which is the altitude above the airfield, but I prefer to have it at sea level. It makes everything simpler. So, back at QNH. Next up, we want to set the attitude indicator to -3 degrees, like so. This is just a tiny detail, but it's nice to have. And we're going to do the same for the backup attitude indicator, like so. Roughly like so. Next up, we're going to turn on our RWR. It takes a couple of minutes to warm up. And we're going to press search. Next up, we can turn on our HUD. Next up, let's check our fuel, and we can see that our left fuel tank carries 580 pounds less than our right, and that is normal. In flight, you need to have a balanced aircraft, and some people say that you should transfer fuel from right to left in flight, but honestly I prefer simply to leave this one in auto balance, and it works just fine. However, I always flip my crossfeed switch right here. In that way I don't lose my left engine once the left fuel tank runs out of fuel, so keep that in mind. If you are carrying external fuel tanks, you need to flip these two switches right here. That way you will drain the external tanks before starting to drain your internal tanks. So remember that. I've seen many people forget to flip these two switches. Next up, let's turn on our pitot heat right here. Engine is, it depends on the weather. Right now it's quite nice weather, so I don't mind putting it on. And we're almost finished. I like to turn on some external lights. Internal if necessary. And our beacon lights, like so. And our IFF system, to standby at least. And if necessary, turn on our TACAN. And lastly, I set my radar to standby, like so. So that is pretty much how you start up the F-5. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.